Hey, have you heard of RDZ Parfums? Well, I've got a couple of fragrances from their lineup, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the house, so strap up, we're going for that ride. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Today, from the house of RDZ Parfums, we have Cereza. And since this is the first fragrance we are observing from the house, I will give you a little bit of house information before we dive into this review. And hopefully, this carries over into the other reviews as you think about the brand and their approach to perfumery. So, RDZ Parfums is a young independent niche house founded in 2023, just a hair shy of 3 years ago. It's described as the first Puerto Rican niche fragrance brand, born from Puerto Rican culture, but based and produced in Philly. Its slogan is essentially born in Puerto Rico, made in Philadelphia. What makes RDZ interesting is that its fragrances are built around specific cultural memories, foods, and locations rather than one consistent DNA. It seems here that they have about 9 fragrances out currently in the marketplace. At the time of this recording, that may be off slightly, but that's what the prompt is giving me. So let's go ahead and dive in with Cereza or Cereza. I thought RDZ, when it popped up on the scene, was kind of going to be like House of Cosmo. The bottles have a very Cosmo look to them, and they came out around the same time, it seems like, in terms of public appearances and whatnot. But this seems to be even more niche and more small in terms of the marketing. Okay, we're going to hit the test strip twice. We're going to hit skin. Pretty juicy atomizer, so one spray will suffice. This fragrance is a unisex fragrance created in 2024. The classification is floral fruity, and it received a 4.2 out of 5, only 25 votes, so extremely small sample size on Fragrantica, but definitely a got to get your nose on it, not necessarily mass appeal, but it's creeping towards mass appeal. So let's see what it's hitting for with this floral fruity fragrance. So to speak very quickly to the quality of this house, this is on par with anything from Mancera, Chris Collins, City Rhythms, things like that in terms of the quality. So as an independent niche house, they're coming with quality so far with this scent. I don't smell a lot of like textural nuance or like there's really expensive raw materials being used in this scent. However, it is a very quality scent, and the blend seems very seamless and well constructed. This is a cherry and plum scent. I don't know if you can imagine cherry and plum in your mind, but the cherry feels kind of candied, almost like a red Jolly Rancher, but it's got a slight dark fruit tint to the background of it. And that's what's constructing this big boisterous fruit smell. It has some nice air to it. It's a middleweight sweetness, probably about 6 out of 10. But it seems very much a plum cherry scent with a kind of air in the background, but it's not super atmospheric. It's mainly just about this cherry plum vibe. I know it said it was a floral fruity, but the only floral aspect I'm getting to this is, I don't want to say texture because I'm not getting very much texture either. It's just kind of a twang on this cherry plum nature. So it makes the cherry and plum softer, but it's still pretty rich in terms of the sweetness. I'm not mad at it. I think cherry lovers would be into this. On my skin, it just warms up a little bit warmer. Get kind of like a sandalwood vibe to it in the back. Let's switch screens here. Get you some information about the notes. Cherry, plum. Looks like I know what I'm talking about a little bit. Almond and bergamot, not so much. Again, The problem with Fragrantica is that when you look at a note pyramid, they don't tell you how much of each note or accord is present in the formula. So you look at this and think, you know, am I going to smell all of this in there? I'm here to report to you that the kind of almond bergamot nature of this is only giving lift, brightness, and fullness to the fragrance. I mostly get about a 70-30 relationship, 70 being cherry, 30% being plum. And these florals are just kind of tinting the fruit to be a certain way. I don't really have any descriptors for you. Base notes, sandalwood, heart notes, rose, saffron, patchouli, and jasmine. Again, those are all just support. I don't really make out any distinctness. It's not that spicy of a fragrance or anything like that. It is a true dominantly fruity with a hint of floral kind of scent. And then the base notes are sandalwood, ambergris, and cashmeran. I imagine you'd get great performance out of this. I'm clocking what I feel like to be like 4 feet of sillage. Good robust projection, but not too much. I imagine the 3-4 feet of projection, maybe 4 plus, just depending on how heavy you spray. If you spray light, you could control. This is a fragrance where I feel like you can control the projection and sillage by the amount of sprays that you do. Interestingly enough, this doesn't strike me as having to go fall winter just due to the sweetness and the lush fruitiness and the dark nature of the fruit. I think this can go 4 seasons because the composition is balanced just perfectly to lean fall winter. Miles, talk with mom, okay? To lean fall winter, but light enough to not be so gourmandy or heavy to where I think during the spring summer it can function like a fruity fragrance, you know, like something from LV or something like that. You know, they play with a lot of citruses, fruits, and florals. It's definitely not as light and as airy and as bright as those fragrances. Again, this is more of a dark fruit nature, more seductive, but the weight of the formula leads me to believe that spring, summer nights would be beautiful with this. Anything with a breeze. It actually is getting lighter and lighter and lighter on my skin. Now, that's just with one spray. But you can day and night this, but it has a kind of night tint to it, at least an afternoon kind of tint to it. And it's very playful and a little bit romantic. Yeah, no alternatives that are listed here in terms of Fragrantica's recommendations. But let me just pull up some notes here so I can go through some general rules of thumb and then we can head out. Okay, so seasons and occasions, we already talked about that. Age, I really think this is an ageless scent for the fruity floral category. Gender, I think it's perfectly unisex. There's no feminine lean. It's not masculine. It's a fruity floral, so you'd think it'd lean feminine, but due to the balance, I think it's dead perfect unisex. Again, that's always an opinion, but to those of you who trust my nose and my curation, I think it's dead perfect unisex in the same way that like Paragon feels from Initio. Performance, I think you're easily going to get 6 to 8 hours. Just ramp up the sprays. It's a projective scent. It's a sillage scent, but it does dry down to about half the weight of what it feels like in the opening. So definitely when you get your nose on this, lather yourself up to really battle test this outside. If I'm indoors, I'm doing less than 3 to 4 sprays. If I'm outdoors, I'm pushing more towards 6 to 8 sprays, maybe even 10 sprays. And again, when you spray it out the nozzle, it's going to be like, whoa, this is robust. But even as I'm going through this review, we're clocking at about 10 minutes and I'm getting about half the weight that I started out with. So it's definitely in the realm of something like a Lorenzo Pizzaglia, but Lorenzos have serious carry on them and the punch never really goes away. Whereas with this scent, I feel very much like it's a step or two down from the loudness of a Lorenzo style fragrance. Price point on this fragrance, let me just double check for you real quick. Looks like they retail around $160 to $210, and you can get 5 mLs of these fragrances for around $20. I've never seen these fragrances really show up on discounters yet. So it's probably very limited batch with no distribution behind it. Alternatives to this are going to be Tobacco and Tonka Bean, Banana Republic, um, French Defense. There's a fragrance from Initio with cherry. I forget what it's called. Um, Even Paragon, any of your plum and cognac style fragrances. Um, but I think what you guys need to know is that for a cherry fragrance, it's not the best. It's definitely not the worst though. It's a well constructed, solid cherry fragrance. But I feel like with cherry, you have to be into cherry fragrances. This fragrance is about the cherry. So it's not photo real. It's not too futuristic. It's not overly natural. It's somewhere in the realm of kind of a candied dark fruit cherry, and it's not too tart in a way of being some sort of synthetic jump out note that's just disruptive. It sits in a very nice pocket. So a very much more elevated Tobacco and Tonka Bean from Banana Republic type of scent mixed with maybe like a little French Defense splashed in there. Score wise, I give it a 8. Probably for cherry lovers, it could be a 9 or better. I'm not the biggest fan of cherry. I want to be. I do have my guirlands and stuff like that, but that's a much different style of cherry with the L'Homme line. That's more of a cherry champagne. In the dark cherry French Defense-y kind of fragrance category, I haven't really found my fragrance yet. I do think a lot of cherry fragrances such as French Defense are good. I just haven't found my all-star yet. But this is up there. This can compete with all of your favorite cherry fragrances. And I think the plum nuance with the floral backdrop makes it more 4 seasons. So this feels like a more utility play rather than a seductive date night. I think identifying what kind of cherry you're going for really matters here. Do you want the cherry to function like seductive date night vibes and stay there and really double down on that? Or do you want a cherry that has those vibes but is light enough to travel year round so that you're not sitting there looking at 95 ml after 4 years because you just don't use it enough? I think this is your 4 seasons cherry, and it's a solid 8 for me. I don't do decimals if you were wondering. Put this on your skin because it does warm up and it does get more punchy. It does dilute quite a bit on the test strip. So just make sure, almost with any fragrance, make sure that you're putting it on your skin in your wear test, but also in terms of checking out the performance, make sure you're loading up the sprays. I don't think you're going to have any issues with performance with this though, but this was an excellent scent to try from the brand as a starter. I'm definitely taking this brand serious. This was RDZ Parfums Cereza or Cereza. It is an extrait de parfum marketed in 100 ml concentration. So nice woody base to it as well. You know, it's woody, it's a slight powder, but it's mostly a fruity experience with a texture of florals. You know, the bottle presentation, just to show you guys this, you know, it's not cheap, but it's not very niche feeling. You know, this feels kind of like a hipster, a hip crowd, kind of like modern 2026 marketed to college kids type of aesthetic to it. So just keep that in mind as well. I think if you're not the most fond of cherry scents, but you'd like to have some cherry laying around, the 5 ml will probably last you a long time because it's not like your signature scent is going to be a cherry fragrance. You just sprinkle this amongst your date night, you know, when you're dealing with a girl who really likes fruity fragrances. But, you know, this doesn't have a femme lean to it. It's just, you know, for girls that are into that, you know, for instance, my wife, she prefers super masculine fragrances, so this would never fly. But for women who like their man to smell somewhat gourmand or tasty or fruity or anything like that, this has a good enough amount of masculine backbone to it that I think it would be a great option for you if you're trying to venture down cherry road. So anyways, guys, I want to say this: like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, talk to me. I do talk back. You are rocking with the Scent Bubble. I'm going to recommend 2 videos based off what you've been searching for on the left and right hand side. Make sure you stay for a while because I got to go, but I've got over almost 2,000 videos in the vault waiting for you to consume fragrance content, whether you're a beginner all the way to an expert collector, everything in between. I educate people about fragrance reviews, you know, I review fragrances. I educate about fragrances, applications, seasons, how to think through them, how to pick up notes, how to test them, where to buy them. And I also educate folks on house dives and history and quality information that the, connoisseur and collector, or even just somebody who wants a more meaningful experience with their purchase. Maybe you're somebody who says, hey, it's not that deep to me, but I do enjoy the entertainment of learning a little bit about the brand because that does influence your purchase. And I also think it influences the smell because the more depth that you have or relationship you have in terms of information with a brand, I think that can actually influence the experience of smelling their perfumes. So anyways, guys, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Talk me, I do talk back. And until next time, peace.